They say childhood is where the soul learns safety, where love is spoon-fed between scraped knees and bedtime stories. But what happens when you are handed no spoon, only silence? What happens when your cries echo through walls that never cared to echo back? I was 7 the first time I understood that no one was coming. Not now, not ever. There was no magical rescue. No adult with warm arms and gentle hands ready to tell me I was worth holding. There was just me, skinny legs dangling off a step too big, a cereal bowl too empty. A world too loud for a child who only wanted someone to whisper, "You're not alone." And that's when I learned how to become my own parent. It didn't happen in a single moment. It was a quiet unfolding, like a paper flower in the rain. You don't notice the bloom until your hands are soaked. It began with small things, like making sure I brushed my teeth before bed, not because anyone reminded me, but because I knew no one would. I tie my own shoes, fold my own clothes, count coins for milk money like I was my own provider. No allowance, no packed lunches, just the ache of responsibility sitting in the hollow space where a mother's touch should have been. The mornings were always the hardest, waking up to cold air and colder silence, the kind of silence that hums like a refrigerator, mechanical and indifferent. I'd stare at the ceiling, pretend a voice would call out from the hallway, "Sweetheart, time to get up." But the only voice I heard was my own, inside my head, rehearsing how to survive another day. I'd whisper, "Come on, we've got this," like a mother might to her child. I became my own comfort, my own motivation, my own invisible guardian. I dressed myself in clothes to sizes too big, scavenged corners of the fridge for something that didn't smell expired, and learned the painful math of stretching food that wasn't enough. Ramen packets became meals, not because they were trendy or convenient, but because they were there and I was hungry. At school, I learned how to lie with a smile. "Yeah, my mom's just busy." "Yeah, I ate already." "Yeah, I'm fine." I mastered the art of invisibility. Teachers saw grades, friends saw jokes. No one saw the shaking hands, the bruised heart, the boy raising himself while sitting in a room full of adults who couldn't see past the surface. But the real parenting didn't happen in chores or routines. It happened in moments of emotional reckoning, when I felt and bled and didn't cry, not because it didn't hurt, but because there was no one to run to. When I got good news and looked around for someone to be proud, only to remember there was no one watching. When birthdays passed like any other day, no candles, no cards, just another number in a world where I felt uncounted. Still, I gave myself what I could. I'd find mirrors and tell myself, "I'm proud of you." I didn't always believe it, but I said it anyway. I draw pictures of families, not for art class, but for my soul, pictures of what I longed for, what I imagined love might look like. And in the absence of someone else's love, I tried to grow my own. I didn't know what love was, but I knew what it wasn't. It wasn't yelling at 2 a.m., it wasn't broken bottles on kitchen tiles. It wasn't promises made and shattered before sunrise. So I made myself new promises. I promised I would never scream at myself. I promised I'd never stop trying to believe I was worth kindness. I promised that I'd grow up to be the adult I needed. At 7 years old, I learned the difference between loneliness and solitude. I learned that loneliness was the sting of being forgotten. But solitude became a sanctuary, a quiet place where I could breathe without needing to explain why I was always holding my breath. I became fluent in the language of survival. And somewhere along the way, I became fluent in resilience too. There were nights I couldn't sleep because the weight of the world sat heavy on my chest. Nights when I'd curl under blankets too thin for comfort, pretending the sheets were arms. I'd hum lullabies I made up on the spot. Lullabies for a child that no one sang to. Lullabies for the child inside of me who still longed to be soothed. And yet, I made it. Not because it got easier. Not because someone swooped in to save me. But because I refused to disappear. I mothered myself through scraped knees and shattered hopes. I fathered myself through school fights and report cards no one signed. I held space for my sadness, gave it room to breathe. I taught myself that crying wasn't weakness, it was proof I was still human. There is a particular ache that comes from seeing the world celebrate Mother's Day. Father's Day days filled with flowers and breakfast in bed, and realizing you've never even said the words mom or dad without flinching. But I also found power in those empty spaces, because in the absence of a guide, I became one. I learned to listen to my gut, to trust my instincts. I learned how to soothe my own storms, how to talk myself down from fear, how to be gentle with myself when the world was not. I didn't always get it right. I made mistakes. I lashed out. I withdrew. But every time, I found my way back to that Small voice I had built at 7 years old, the one that said, "You've got this." Some people grow up with memories of family vacations, home-cooked meals, bedtime kisses. I grew up with memories of survival, of unlocking the door after school to an empty house and turning on the TV just for noise, of hugging myself in the dark, of writing my name over and over again in notebooks just to remind myself I existed. But survival taught me something sacred. I am capable of giving myself what the world refused to. And now, as an adult, I see that 7-year-old still inside me, the one who never got tucked in, the one who wiped their own tears, the one who never heard, "I'm proud of you," from the mouth that mattered most. So I say it now. I am proud of you. You made it without a map. You made it through storms that should have broken you. You found a way to be your own sun in the darkest of skies. And to anyone listening, anyone who's still waiting for a parent that never came, this is your permission to stop waiting. This is your reminder that you are already everything you needed. You are the love. You are the protection. You are the safe place. You don't have to keep chasing the ghost of what should have been. You can build something new. I did. And it started when I was just 7 years old, sitting in the silence, whispering to myself the words I had never heard. You are enough. You are safe. I'm here now, and I've never left.